the safe half of your retirement account, guess what? It just changed jobs and nobody told you. For 40 years, your retirement worked on one simple deal. Stocks make you money in the good times, and bonds protect you in the bad times. You see, when stocks fell, bonds rose like a seesaw. That seesaw held through crashes, through wars, through a COVID pandemic, okay? Then came August of 2026. The seesaw broke. The economy got bad. Bonds fell anyway. So both halves of your retirement dropped together. And then the government did something only you do if you're guilty. And it started buying back its own debt. When a government buys back its own debt, it isn't investing, guys. That is a confession of what? It's admitting that nobody else is going to pay full price for it, so it buys its own. And the people with the most to lose heard that confession first. Central banks, the banks that literally print the world's money, their words say everything is just fine. But if you watch their purchases, they're telling you something is really wrong. And I don't know how they communicate. Maybe it's with this walkie-talkie. This walkie-talkie has a 5,000 mile range. And maybe not to go for the south sometimes, they just start calling each other and saying, buy, buy, buy. But that's what they've been doing. And when words and purchases disagree, what do you believe? You believe what they buy, the purchases. So today, I'm going to show you why your safe money isn't safe anymore. And while you've been playing on the beach, what the people who actually print the money are quietly buying instead. And exactly what I bought with my own money because of it. But before I do, you ought to know whether what I'm telling you is worth your time. Now, if you were listening to me last week, you would have known that I published on my Substack, all right, on Wednesday morning, an analysis of what would Ayn Rand do if her character from Atlas Shrugged, and if you haven't read that, the New York Times said it was the second most influential book ever written after the Bible. I read that in 1981, and that's why I bought it. Well, I told you that the one thing that she would buy after this entire analysis is Bitcoin. Why? Because that day it was at $39.9 trillion. And that night, coming into Thursday, it was moving to $40 trillion. And what happened? Bitcoin was at little under 64,000. By Friday, 77,000. And I told you to buy one thing, Bitcoin, up $13,000 in 48 hours. Thank you very much for all of those that were listening. And by this week, it's up $2,000 more. So you don't have to listen to this. You don't have to listen to me. But I told you, and I told you it was the one thing to buy, and I told you why. Bitcoin, $64,000. By Friday, it was 77, okay? This morning, check it out, 79. We'll see where it is exactly. And this post is still sitting there with the timestamp. I can't change it. I can't edit it. It's a receipt. I'm not telling you, to impress you. What I'm telling you is, so you'll still be here in 10 or 15 minutes, however long, when I tell you what I bought this week. This is Capital Mischief. I read the filings. I follow the money so you don't have to. And then I tell you what I own. Okay. The code is on the screen, it's in the letter, it's free. Point your phone at it now. It takes 4 seconds and you can subscribe to YouTube for free. Put down the phone after that and watch the rest. And if you want the next one of these, then subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Substack. So first, let me show you the deal that just died. For 40 years, bad news for the economy was actually good news for bonds, okay? It sounds backwards and stupid, but here's why it worked. When the economy gets bad and weak, the government cuts interest rates to help. And when rates fall, the bonds people already own, they become more valuable. That's the way a bond works because your old bond pays more than the new ones being sold. So people will pay extra to get it. So stocks fell, bonds rose, and your retirement stayed balanced. That's the 60-40. Now look at August. On August 7th, the jobs report came out. Everyone expected America to add 83,000 jobs. Did it? No. Instead, we lost 23,000. Days later, we learned inflation was cooling. Hey, then shoppers stopped spending. And by the book, rates should have fallen. Textbook, okay? But here's what actually happened in early August. The same week, the government borrowed money for 30 years, 30-year treasuries. And on a loan that long, the government doesn't set the rates. They set the rates on earlier paper. The lender set that rate, and the lenders demanded 5.22% interest, the highest rate since 2001. The last time Washington paid this much to borrow, you were like burning a CD for your girlfriend, okay? So let me say that a little bit more simply. The economy got weaker, all right? Lenders charged America more this time, not less. So the seesaw, it didn't wobble, it snapped. So why would lenders charge more when the news gets worse? Think about your own credit card, all right? When you lose your job, does your card company lower your rate? No, it raises it like as much as it can, 15, 18%, because you just became a riskier borrower. So everybody knows this, folks, and everybody has a cousin or an uncle or a father who lost his job. And the first call he got wasn't family. It was Visa, MasterCard. The credit card companies found out before his own mother found out. That's what is happening in America today. Lenders stopped asking, how's the economy? Lenders started asking, can this borrower pay me back? And America's credit file doesn't look that great. Washington is borrowing about $2 trillion this year alone. That kind of borrowing, used to happen only in world wars. And the interest bill alone, it's like, I was reading the numbers today, 1.2 trillion a year interest. I mean, that's more than the military entire budget for the year, okay? That's what America spends on the entire military. So follow the loop here, okay? Saying it again, a weak economy means less tax money coming in, okay? Less tax money means more borrowing, and more borrowing makes lenders more nervous. I mean, wouldn't you be? So what do? They charge higher rates. So bad news now makes rates go up. All right. That's the new world that your retirement account lives in. And nobody sent you a memo. I'm telling you now. And now here's the part they'd rather you miss. All right. Who knows? Maybe the Chinese will come, maybe the Americans will come in, and you won't be watching anymore for some reason. But on August 18, America's national debt passed 40 trillion for the first time in history. That same day, the rate America pays to borrow for 30-year mortgages hit a 19-year high. And the very next morning, what did the government do? They announced that it would double the purchases on its own debt. 30-year treasuries. Coincidence like that require a great deal of planning. So follow me now. Let me explain what it actually means. So a government bond is just an IOU. America writes an IOU and sells them to strangers for cash. Now, imagine going back to those strangers and now saying, hey, I'd like you to buy my IOUs back, and paying for them by writing new IOUs. That's like a program that just doubled. Okay. So now, to be fair, small buybacks are normal. They keep the market running very smoothly, but you don't double them the morning after you have a record like that. It doesn't work that way. You do that when buyers are getting nervous and you're trying to hold your price up and you're the reserve currency. Then the Treasury Secretary, the man in charge of America's money, goes on TV last week and he essentially admitted it. He asked how far he would go to force rates down. And this is what he said, I quote, "We have a big toolkit and part of it is signaling." Signaling means trying to change what you believe, what the world believes, not fixing the problem, managing your feelings about the problem. And give him credit, okay? He's a smart guy and the most honest man in this story. He told you to watch the hands of the magician. Quick thing. And then I'll show you who else is watching those magician hands. Everything I just told you, the 5.2%, the 40 trillion, the doubled buybacks, every single number footnoted in this letter, sources and all, that's the code on your screen. It's free. It's a QR code, lands Monday, lands Wednesday morning, and hit subscribe on this YouTube channel because the next number that breaks is not going to wait for me to make a video to tell you about it. And lucky if you're watching or not. Now, you're blaming, I know, the current White House, but put down your blue jersey, red jersey. This trick is older than this administration. September 2011, different party, different jersey in charge. The Federal Reserve, which is America's central bank, tried the exact same move. What did they call it? Operation Twist, like, music. They buy long-term debt, they push the rate down, and it worked for 2 days. Within weeks, rates were almost back to where they started. So what did the Fed do? They extended the program. Different decade, different party, same purchases. Now, these tricks don't fix the problem. They rent some time, and the rent keeps coming up for the next guy. 5 presidents built this debt from both parties, both jerseys, okay? And every one of them walked in, looked at the bar tab, and ordered dessert, essentially. Nobody orders dessert on a tab that they're paying. Your retirement account doesn't care who you voted for. Doesn't work that way. And this isn't politics. It's math, arithmetic. So who understands government money problem better than anyone? Other governments. They do the same thing. So every major country has a central bank: China, Japan, Germany, and the institution that prints that country's money. So watch their hands. Don't watch their press releases or their press conferences. In just 3 months this year, central banks bought 289 tons of gold, the most they've ever bought at this time of year. And here's the very strange part: gold was having its worst run in 13 years, the beginning of the year, but they kept buying anyway. You know, you don't cancel the fire insurance because the neighborhood had a quiet month. So, all of you, do the math with me. All right. The world's new gold supply that quarter, about 1,270 tons. Central banks took 289 tons. That's nearly 1 out of every 4 ounces of new gold going where? Going straight into government vaults. China's central bank alone has bought gold for 21 months straight. Now, a hedge is just a small, kind of just in case purchase. Insurance. 21 months in a row, folks? No. That's not a China hedge. A hedge is 1 month. 3 months is a habit. 21 months, that's a mortgage. Something is going on here. So now ask the obvious question. There are the people who print the money, the central banks, and if they truly believed in their own product, like a chef, would they be eating their own food? Why are they filling their vaults with the one thing they can't print? All right. So when the makers of a product start buying insurance against it, that's a tell, which last week led me to the obvious hardest asset of all time, which is Bitcoin. And we can get into that math later. But suffice to say, what do you do with all this? What do I do? I mean, I can't fix the deficit. I can't glue the seesaw back together, but I can decide what I own. And my filter is one sentence: stop listening to what they say, own what they buy. So the last time I watched the hands and the mouth disagree this loudly, I bought Bitcoin at $64,000 last week. All right. 6 days ago. And I told you that. So I went looking for one more set of hands to watch. All right. The sharpest investor most people have never heard of. And on August 14, he showed his cards. His name is Stan Druckenmiller. Okay. He ran an investment fund for 30 years, worked with George Soros, went off on his own. He averaged about almost 30% a year and never once had a single losing year. In 1992, he bet against the British currency and won. They say he broke the Bank of England. Today, he invests only his own money. So here's how we know what he owns. Big investors in America must report their stock holdings every 3 months, okay? They must do it in a public government filing, okay? Anyone can go online and read it. And his latest one landed on August 14, his 13F, and it showed 4 brand new investments, all in companies that mine Bitcoin. A Bitcoin miner is simpler than it sounds. Basically, It's a giant warehouse full of computers, and those computers produce new Bitcoin. They're miners. So machines and electricity, that's the whole business, okay? And he also dumped 5 of his AI chip stocks. And here's the detail most people miss. He bought actual Bitcoin, but he cannot disclose it and doesn't have to on the 13F, okay? And he would, never show that up on a form. So if he's buying the miners, he's also controlling Bitcoin institutionally on cold wallets, like every institutional investor does. But real Bitcoin is invisible on that form. So what exactly he did, how much he bought, who knows? But Stan isn't a guy that does anything small, all right? And within days, the market backed him up. I saw the same thing. And it is one of the reasons when a guy like that, okay, who is a big institutional guy, starts doing that, you know something's going on. And guess who worked very closely with Stan when he was with, his big fund? He worked very closely with our Secretary Treasury. And guess who helped him run the fund? Well, a guy by the name of Warsh, who is now the Fed Secretary. And they're all pro Bitcoin. All right. So 64,000 last week, today 79,000. And here's what made this one historic. Every past Bitcoin boom came when money was cheap, low rates, easy borrowing. This one came when rates are near 20-year highs. That exact condition was supposed to kill the Bitcoin trade, okay? And that has never happened before. And Bitcoin had one of the largest short positions ever. So it blew through it and created a short squeeze. So for 1 week, Bitcoin traded like gold, digital gold. For years, that was a bumper sticker, but something that you say at a barbecue actually happened. And then the bond market said it. And the bond market doesn't go to barbecues. So you already know about the 64,000 to 77 to 79. Here's the part that I haven't told you yet. I didn't take the win off the table. I bought more. All right. The week of the surge, I bought more. And Bitcoin is now the single largest position that I own. I did that at 70 something, not at 64. I kept buying, knowing everything I'm about to tell you in the next 60 seconds about how this can go wrong. So right now, a big indicator that everybody looks at is the 200-day moving indicator, which is about 69,000. It blew through that. And as long as it stays above that indicator, it closes this week above it, that will provide support. If it jumps and goes below it again, then all bets are off for this very large move that has only happened 3 times in Bitcoin's history. So again, this is not advice, but I do own Bitcoin, gold, silver. I own the companies that mine metals, and I own energy, okay? The whole energy complex, things that you can't print, okay? And I typically buy things a third at a time, never all at once. I typically buy the third, then when it goes down, I wait, I buy more, and then once it goes way up again, I buy my last third. So my size is conviction, and your pace should be patience, because Nobody is right all the times. I make calls like this all the time. I talk about them in my Substack, and I tell you what I'm buying while I'm buying it, not weeks and weeks afterward. So the code is on your screen. The link is in the description. It's still free. So subscribe to this YouTube channel. That's how you get the next one. Now, we're not going anywhere. Let me argue against my own positions, because if I only tell you the good part, then I'm selling you something and I'm not. Okay. Gold hit a record in January. That's like 5,600, and then it fell 16%. Its worst quarter in 13 years. So anyone that's promising you like a straight line up is absolutely lying to you. And Bitcoin, so one great week doesn't prove a world, okay? And if the stock market crashes hard, gold and Bitcoin can fall first because it's liquid and people sell it. Because in a panic, people sell whatever they can sell fast. And it's happened before. It happened to gold in 2008. And the price of owning all this, most of what I own pays me nothing while I wait, okay? There is no dividend for silver, gold, Bitcoin, all right? Dividend are other things like energy positions. So you got to keep that in mind. And I accept that trade gladly. I bought everything I just named, knowing everything I just said, because investing isn't about finding something with zero risk. It's deciding which risk you're willing to own and diversifying across asset classes. And nobody makes a confession for fun. The Treasury says everything is fine and doubles its own buybacks. Central banks say the dollar is sound and stack gold they can't print. And the most watched investor alive says nothing and files his answer in public is 13F. We discussed that. So I don't know when the next crisis comes. I don't know which straw finally breaks the math. And I certainly don't know what day the lenders decide they've heard enough and just want their money back. But everyone in this story has already moved. And that's why I own gold, I own silver, that's why I own Bitcoin, and why it's my largest position now. And this was never really about bonds, okay? For 40 years, SAFE meant lending America your money. Now, the people who print that money are quietly changing what safe means, not with speeches, with purchases, what they are buying. Their words say your money is fine, but their purchases, gold, says it isn't. And your retirement account changes once a year if you remember. And if the people who print the money won't save it, then what are you saving in? Capital Mischief, free Monday, Wednesday morning. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week.